Welcome to The Direct Line, the official podcast for OADSP. We're excited to have you here with us today, and if you have comments, suggestions, or if you want to join us in studio as a guest, reach out to me at podcast@oadsp.org.
I'm David Rustio, and today I'm speaking with Jared Hunt. Welcome to the show, Jared.
Hey, thank you, David. I appreciate you being here.
How are you today?
Fantastic.
Just fantastic?
I think it's just about if I were any more fantastic, I don't know the way things would go around here.
Well, I think there's one step above called fantastical.
Let's go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to reach that by the end of this episode. It's going to be great.
I'm excited then.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Jared Hunt. I am the CEO for Winwreath. I have been here for just over 30 years, which is the majority of my life. And, didn't necessarily...
I mean, you're only, 37?
Yes, 37.
Okay.
We got to do the math on that a little bit. Maybe you're pretty close. It's craziness.
Well, I know on our other episode, you were 70 or 80.
80. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were 80. We did a lot of pre-planning, making sure this went out right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about there was I never thought that I would be doing this for a living. I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. And I guess listeners can check out episode 1 if they want to hear all about that. But
well, this might be episode 1. We never know.
Well, if you guys are listening to this for the first time,
there's another episode.
There's going to be a real cliffhanger. Maybe they will want to. I don't know.
They will.
I love it. I just now that I am doing this, and clearly by being here for 30 years, I love this, and it is it's because of the folks that I work with,
sure.
the people that we serve, the folks here on our team that we work with primarily, and who else we get to bump into in the community.
Sure.
No way I would do anything else with my life.
Well, tell us a little bit about Winwreath.
So Winwreath is I like to think of as small family-owned company.
Okay.
Again,
Well, you're not that small.
well, it seems like maybe we're not. Started out in 1994 with one person. And that individual had been bounced around his whole life. And my father started this agency, told his father that he will give him a place to live the rest of his life. My dad was very much a man of his word,
sure.
and he kept that word until the day that that individual had passed. We provided an amazing place. Our staff just took such great care of him. Similarly, my father worked here until the day that he passed as well. And I feel like we want to keep on that tradition of just taking care of people, knowing that if we just do what we're called to do and focus on providing the best care we can, that we'll all be taken care of. And I think that we've seen that through the years and all of the trials that we've all been through.
Sure.
It's cool to see how that's panned out for us.
Yeah. I know that you offer a lot of services, but I'd like us today to really talk about some cutting edge stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that you do remote supports and other things that technology based. So talk to us about that.
Remote support, I feel like, is something that's really put us on the map here in Ohio. Okay. I got involved in the remote support field before it was even a thing in Ohio.
Okay.
Was brought in on some early conversations. There were a couple of out-of-state providers, and I kind of had a reputation for an aptitude for using technology here.
Okay.
People thought I was a geek. So they thought they would get me on board with this. And I listened to the concept of remote support. I listened to what people liked about it and what people didn't like about it. just as we talked about in the previous episode of CrossFit and the way that people are intimidated by that, possibly it was the same sort of situation with remote support as well, where people would think that it's Big Brother spying on them,
Sure.
everything they're doing.
Well, that's what it sounds like.
It does sound like that, but there is nothing that could be further from the truth. So I wanted to figure out what our special approach to that service would be. We became the first provider, as far as I can tell. We are the first certified provider of remote support in Ohio.
Okay.
And as I was setting out to gain that certification, I had to ask myself, what's our special niche going to be, or how are we going to be different than anyone else? And that is that we're an Ohio direct support provider. I just want to do that. I want to just provide direct support services to people using technology to connect them. So sat out and had this journey to figure it out, pulled from some of my law enforcement experience where I was certified to run a 911 center.
Okay.
And I used some of that experience to create a monitoring center of our own. But the difference was that I wanted to put direct support professionals in the seat there. I wanted to have people that know all of our individuals, know their ISPs, and just know them like they do when they're working in the homes. And I want them to work with them like they do when they're working in the homes. And so we did that. We created the service that is now on our, I think we're on our 4th monitoring center right now as we've grown and expanded. Part of that monitoring center is actually in the building you and I are in right now. And on our 7th generation of remote support system. And really all it's been is to make sure that we're bringing people together. Fast forward as many years as we've been through it now. What an amazing service. It's changed everything.
Sure. How does it feel to the individuals when it's not a human face-to-face in the flesh, but it's somebody that they can talk to and see? What kind of reaction do you get from folks?
The general reaction that we get from them is it's a human face-to-face that you see almost in the flesh. And that was exactly what we wanted, is we wanted for our staff to be able to interact with them and to do everything they would in their home, just not be able to physically touch them. And they've established those relationships. So, we're going to visit the monitoring center and we're going to see the interactions that they have. They're friends, they do life together. The folks that we're serving know the schedules of their staff. They look forward to them. They share funny stories. When they have doubts or fears or questions, they know who they can go to.
Sure.
And we find that they're doing life just the way they always have. But the weird thing is, as amazing as our DSPs are, when they're in the homes, we can't turn them off.
True.
But, with remote support, we can. People had this idea that remote support is always watching cameras all the time, and that's just not true. And so those folks that we're serving are realizing they have more freedom and privacy than they've ever had before. And it is such a scalable service that we can move someone from being completely dependent on 24-hour staffing to ultimately being completely independent. And we have seen that more times than we ever imagined we would.
In a provider I worked for who also had remote supports, we got some real pushback from mostly county board people, because remote supports are relatively new, about serving people in wheelchairs.
Sure.
And they just said it couldn't be done. But the individuals wanted it. They wanted to live together, and it's a man and a woman, and they didn't want humans. They're both high functioning.
Yeah.
They didn't want humans in there all the time. So, staff, human in the flesh, go at night to put them to bed, and then in the morning to get them out and going. But everything else is remote supports.
Yep.
and they absolutely love it. And it's independence.
It sure is. You know, the one thing that we knew when we set out was that we weren't going to be able to serve everybody.
Oh, sure.
We would have to be able to say no because we want people to be safe.
Absolutely.
We always approached these situations with that in mind. First of all, what is the assessed need of that person? What are their obstacles to independence? And we can create solutions around that, but we have to be able to ensure that the person's going to be safe during the periods that we're monitoring them. And if being in a wheelchair may create a situation, you know, if there's a fire at night and they can't get into the wheelchair and out of the home, how do we address that? And we have to be able to do that.
You have to answer those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, remote support is not all or nothing. So it can be slowly implemented. For us, it can be an hour here and there, and it can grow with the person as that individual and their support team grow more comfortable with it. We can increase that. And don't get me wrong, we never want to replace people with machines, with remote support. We want to support providers to be able to do their thing too. And that might be many times we say, hey, those times when your staff are just sitting around the home, you know, on-site, on-call situations, why not have us come in and provide remote support? Sure. And plenty of other situations as well. We still want our individuals to get out, be in the community,
absolutely,
live the best life possible. And we are so flexible with the way that happens. They just have to be able to be safe.
Absolutely. What, have you ever had a family member that was adamant no and then said, oh, wait a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had family members that have been just absolutely adamant that they will not do this. And if that's where it's at, then that's where it's at.
Sure.
But we try to get to the root of that. And, you know, we see people's reluctancies and what their misconceptions might be about remote support. We run one of the regional tech hubs that we have a tech hub grant through DODD and allow for people to come up and see the technology, interact with it. We have an apartment that is outfitted with all sorts of tech.
Nice.
People can see that, and then they go right downstairs to our monitoring center, and it's the only place in Ohio where you can see beginning to end and everything in between what the process looks like. And when folks see that, they say, I get it. I get it now. Sometimes it is scary and it's hard to conceptualize, but when you see it in action, you get it, that it's just people taking care of people. And certainly we always say if there are family members, even providers that need to see how it works to get on board, come check it out. We'll talk through it and you'll see it's not so scary after all.
I think in a practical sense, I think one of the arguments that really helped me come around was that a sleeping staff person isn't going to be able to react as quickly as a sensor.
Absolutely.
To get somebody to look in and see that everything is okay or safe.
You know, we have had direct support staff that when they're sleeping on site, on call, they're dead to the world.
That's how I sleep.
Yeah, they sleep hard, and kudos to them. I'm kind of jealous. But that's the way they are. And our remote support staff, they don't sleep. Those sensors, they never sleep. And those sensors are only used to alert the staff. You know, we provide remote support per rule. It says it has to be live and in real time.
Right.
So everything's immediate. With direct support staff, it might be more of an approximation of when something happened. With us, it's clear, black and white, logged exactly when things happened. And the response from our remote support staff has just been tremendous.
I think about, you know, if a fire were to start in a home, let's pray that doesn't happen, but we know it has. A sleeping staff person may not hear or may not smell, but, you know, technology can immediately get the word out and wake up the
Absolutely.
staff and get help called. I mean, if we're going to have to wait on an ambulance or fire truck, a 1 minute after the fact call as opposed to
Exactly.
10 or 15 can make a life and death.
Yeah. And we take that stuff so seriously, even if we are not providing remote support and at a certain time we get a life safety sensor item. If we have a smoke or fire detector that goes off, even when we're not monitoring, we're still going to respond to that.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure. We had, funny story, we even had one night we were providing remote support for someone, and our staff received an alert of a breach in the perimeter of the home. Now, we know we don't have cameras in bedrooms or bathrooms, but through sensors, we knew that our individual was in bed asleep. All of a sudden, a window's breached, and our staff people are able to get on the cameras and see there's someone creeping around in the home.
Oh, wow.
They're able to say, hey, over here, hey. And they got the person to come over and everything. It was craziness.
No.
They were able to call law enforcement, like, oh, we got someone breaking into this house. Got it all on camera and everything. Person got caught, but they're sharp. They're there and they know what's going on.
Right.
It has just changed services so drastically. And, me being the old man that I am, to see how much the field has changed by using technology. And it's not just remote support. We provide even more assistive tech throughout the states. And that really is any type of technology we can use to try to get the person as completely independent as possible. And to see the way that that's touching lives, I never would have guessed that when we set out to do this originally.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. Well, Jared, do you serve people, do you do remote supports only for people that you have in your residences, or do you offer to people in other agencies, or what's your footprint look like?
So we are providing remote support across the entire state.
Okay.
We are a one-stop shop. So that is, we provide the assessments, we design the equipment, we build the equipment, we personally come out and install it, and then we monitor it in the state-of-the-art monitoring center, which I'll spill the beans. We've actually got 2 monitoring centers, different cities, just for redundancy and safety. But we do absolutely everything, and the majority of services we provide, because there has to be that backup staff component in many situations. We work with other providers, so we will partner with them to serve their individuals. And if we need anything, we can have them on board to help out. But
so they can respond in an emergency because they have staff there.
Right.
So they can actually really help, and you're helping them.
They do, and absolutely. I have to say too that if there's a true emergency, we're not looking for direct support staff to respond. We're calling the police, fire, EMS, absolutely, and we're calling those staff to have them respond and help out while police are on their way or whatever that might be. But we partner with them and have the flexibility to just to be able to implement services in a way that's unique to every individual and agency. And that's
personalized.
It has to be. And I think that's sometimes where people have such a hard time wrapping their mind around it, because it can be so flexible. But we start by looking at what is the assessed need of the individual, and we make sure that we meet that need with our services. And it can, it can be one thing today, but as their health and their needs change in the future, we can change to roll with life just as anyone else would need to.
Sure. If there's a family out there looking for information or interested in Winreath, how do they reach you?
So visiting our website is always a great thing. Winreath.com, WYNN-REETH.com.
Okay.
If they do a provider search on DODD's website, they'll certainly find us there. If they throw up the old W smoke signal in the sky.
You've got people looking.
Oh, yeah. We're on it. We will be there and try to help with anything that we can.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jared.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun talking to you today, and hope you had a good time. And I'm excited because I get to go see all of this here in a little bit.
I absolutely love what we're doing here, love being able to share it, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
You have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for listening, and join us next time on The Direct Line.